Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
Kevin sent me notes. Steve, check out the story from Canada involving a man driving a Barbie Jeep through town. And yeah, he got in trouble for that. And so the story's from the CBC. Andrew Kuryata wrote this. Man arrested after driving child-sized pink Barbie Jeep through Prince George, British Columbia. Keep in mind that this could have happened anywhere in America as well, and you'd probably get the exact same result. So the man was pulled over by police after driving a child-sized pink toy Barbie Jeep along one of the main roads in the north-central BC city on September 5th, and on a day that included a hit-and-run involving an ambulance and a prominent downtown business being destroyed by fire. Photos and video of the Barbie Jeep are what spread across online with a mixture of humor and disbelief. Photos captured by several people show the man wearing his aviator sunglasses cruising down 15th Avenue. And speaking to CBC News, he said he was getting ready to get a Slurpee with a friend, but got lazy and decided to borrow his roommate's child's tiny car to get around as his friend walked along beside him. And then he said, I never drove it before. In the images he's seen driving near the side of the road that's been closed for construction before turning onto an open side road. Then an unmarked police cruiser came along and he got arrested. Some onlookers were in disbelief, saying, you're really arresting him for driving a kid's Jeep? She told the news that the man had been driving close to the curb and going maybe 3 miles per hour. Another person saw part of the incident as she drove in the open lane beside him. She said, I was cruising down the street, and this undercover car is behind me, so I roll my window down and say, don't let him catch you riding dirty. And, of course, that's a reference to a song that refers to driving while taking part in an illegal activity. She was surprised the police got involved, saying the driver of the little car appeared to be playing it safe. He didn't look like he was speeding to me. Now, of course, it wasn't speeding for which he was arrested. They say they pulled him over, and in the course of talking to him, found out he had a suspended license, and they believe he was intoxicated. They later verified that by breath analysis, which it turns out the man himself did confirm to the CBC. So it's not like there's some dispute about this. He was not arrested for speeding in the Jeep. He was arrested for, in essence, drunk driving. So he also said the police told him they had received many calls about him and told him he'd been driving in the middle of the road, but he denied that. He said the bulk of the journey had been driving on the sidewalk, but then that got blocked off, or he saw something in the construction where he thought he could drive more safely. But none of that information was available to onlookers, like a mail carrier who was leaving a nearby post office with her coworkers when they saw the Barbie Jeep coming toward them. We were kind of watching him living his best life. We were jealous because he was just happy as a clam. Now, the police action, she said, seems a bit overkill, but that's just me. But of course, keep in mind that they don't know, apparently they're being interviewed, why he was arrested. So there's been all kinds of stuff all over the internet about this. But the Royal Canadian Mounted Police Media Relations Officer said driving an uninsured vehicle is sufficient grounds to make an arrest, especially combined with other possible violations, including that impairment thing. Now, the uninsured vehicle and the Barbie Jeep probably would not be the thing that they would get him in trouble for, but that's just a media relations person pointing out that you got to look at everything. A Vancouver-based lawyer specializing in driving offenses agreed with police, saying it is well established that toy vehicles are not allowed on the road. She said, you are required to have a driver's license in British Columbia if you're operating any motorized vehicle on the road. That includes Barbie cars, toy cars, electric skateboards, anything like that. It is required to have a license and insurance, and presumably to not be drunk. Now, they said that the CBC did, spoke to the man who was driving the Barbie Jeep and asked him for his takeaway, and he said, don't drink and drive. Don't drink and drive. Now, that could be a reference to his previous events that got his license suspended, or it could be a reference to this event. But I do want to point out something, and this is very, very important. I've done stories now about people, I believe, on lawn tractors and Barbie Jeeps and various other things that are not cars that people have gotten into to go get or go drive around, but also even to go get alcohol. There was a famous case out of Michigan. Guy drove his lawnmower tractor to the store to get some alcohol, and he couldn't drive because his license had been taken away for drunk driving. And he thought, well, the tractor is not an automobile. But you have to understand, and I pulled, and I'm not going to get heavily into this because it would get us way off into the weeds, but under Michigan law, and in many states, it's similar, and it looks like it's the same thing in BC, that there's MCL 257-625. 257 is our vehicle code. 625 is a subsection on operating motor vehicle while intoxicated. And then there's operating motor vehicle when visibly impaired. And there's penalties for all of these things. And it is against the law to operate a motor vehicle while intoxicated. So then you go back to the section on definitions, which is 257.33, motor vehicle defined. So this is the definition of a motor vehicle under Michigan law, especially for the purposes of the drunk driving statute. Motor vehicle means every vehicle that is self-propelled. But for the purposes of subchapter 4, does not include industrial equipment such as a forklift, a front end loader, or other construction equipment that is not subject to registration under this act. So they actually exempt out a bunch of stuff. Now keep in mind that the motor vehicle definition is for the entire vehicle code, not just the drunk driving portion. So then it says motor vehicle does not include a power-driven mobility device when being driven by an individual with a mobility disability. So if you're driving a self-propelled wheelchair, it's not a motor vehicle. Likewise, does not include an electric patrol vehicle being operated in compliance with the Electric Patrol Vehicle Act. Does not include an electric personal assistive mobility device. Does not include an electric carriage. Does not include a commercial quadricycle. And does not include an electric bicycle. And motor vehicle does not include an electric skateboard. So the attorney in BC says that there the law does, but in Michigan it does not. So there actually are some wacky things that don't overlap from place to place on this. But getting back to the top, because those exceptions are very small. I mean, I'm not sure how many electric skateboards you're going to see today on the roadway, right? But motor vehicle means every vehicle that is self-propelled minus that construction equipment. So you're in a Barbie Jeep. Is it self-propelled? Yes. Is it a vehicle? Yes. It is a motor vehicle. So operating that on the roadway or any other place open to traffic would probably get you in trouble if you got caught. And keep in mind that that is one of the other distinctions that people often miss. So let's suppose the guy was on the sidewalk instead of the road, and he did this in Michigan. He can get busted for that, and it would be the same as driving on the road, because they'd say that that sidewalk, every time he crosses a driveway, for instance, he's passing through an area that is open to traffic, public traffic, regardless of whether it's public roadway or not. So that would be a thing here in Michigan, and in most states in America it would be as well. So again, what's going to vary, I think, most from state to state on this is whether or not like an electric skateboard is exempted out. And I think the reason they exempt out the electric skateboard is that while it is a self-propelled vehicle, the odds of you causing harm to anything but yourself with that skateboard are pretty slim compared to you if you're in a vehicle. Now you're going to say, but Steve, what about the Barbie vehicle? Well, that's probably not cause a lot of damage either. However, the police claim that he was in the roadway and not up along the edge of the road or behind the barrels and the cones along the construction. They claim he was in the roadway. And if you're driving along in a vehicle and you come around a corner, you might not be expecting a grown man to be this high off the ground. And I'm doing this on purpose because I think my hand is off camera. And this guy might be off your radar, so to speak. You come around a curve and he's so low to the ground because he's in a Barbie Jeep. So for his own safety, he should not be in traffic in the Barbie Jeep. But it makes headlines, and he appears to be taking it in stride because, again, his takeaway is don't drink and drive. So, Kevin, thanks for sending that from the CBC. Andrew Curata wrote that. Man arrested driving child-sized pink Barbie Jeep through Prince George, British Columbia. Questions or comments? Put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. Never confuse a single defeat with a final defeat.